No, I wasn't Abiola's disciple. We had always seen Abiola as part of Nigeria's problem. Tinubu could have been Abiola's disciple, but not me. Even Tinubu that they're talking about, and I said this, they have never been disputed. Cannot speak when I'm speaking. What happened in River State was a brazen position taken by this cabal led by Tinubu at this time. Someone like Akpabio should be in prison instead of being elected as a Senate president in any sane country.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pulse on the Record. Today we have the privilege of speaking to a Nigerian activist, journalist, and political stalwart, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Right, so diving straight into it. Your political history, it's known, but we want to rehash it a bit. So this is a two-part question, right? But the first one is, how did you know, when did you decide that you wanted to lead the nation and sweep out the ones that are doing it already?
First, it was recognizing as young as 10 years old when my village was invaded by the police on a Christmas Eve, 1980. And the terror to which my family community was subjected. That was the night I knew that I would have to be part of some kind of liberation force in the country that would end what I later described as the Federal Republic of Injustice because of what was done that night. But I did not start to think about political leadership until I would say I arrived at the University of Lagos, 1989, where there were a lot of student movements around, a lot of student groups, and one of it was the Thomas Sankara movement. And I went to their meeting. It was fascinating to meet people of like minds who feel the same way I feel about our country. There are two problems in those days. It was the Structural Adjustment Program, which was an economic policy adopted by then Babangida regime that was wiping Nigeria clean of progress economically, which has continued ever since. The second was driving the military out of power so that we could have democracy. And in those days, interestingly, I was not interested in politics. I hated politics. I hated the people they describe as politicians. I just thought these are dishonest people and I don't want to be found in their company. But I definitely was interested in political activism and I eventually was elected as a student union president at the University of Lagos in 1992. So even though before I got to the student union, I had been a hall welfare secretary, hall chairman, I was the class captain of my class for the entire time I was in university. So that's the Department of Geography and Planning, Environmental Sciences, University of Lagos. That's what I studied in the university. Geography and planning, nothing close to politics. But the later part of the political engagement that defines where I am now on the political side was in 2016 or thereabout when I started thinking about returning back to Nigeria to practice what I've always known, liberation movement work. It was then I discovered that having been gone from Nigeria since 1999, it's 2016, I came back, the place has not changed a bit. I had done what I personally could describe as fantastic journalism with Sahara reporters. It didn't change anybody. They just got more caked in their ways. The more you expose them, the more they got used to being exposed. And I said, best journalists, best wishes can't change society, but good people can. That was the point at which I moved into what you can then refer to as partisan politics.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think many people did not know what Mr. Sowore studied in school. Now they know. Okay, so next one is, right, there's a viral photo of you alongside Kashimo Abiola on the internet. And I know you've referenced that photo and how it came to be. But many would suggest that to a large extent, you were almost a disciple of Abiola, and Tinubu was also in that space. So how come there's now the vast difference in your political ideologies?
No, I wasn't Abiola's disciple. Let me shock you.
Okay.
A few weeks before Abiola declared for presidency, we were hosting Nelson Mandela at the University of Lagos.
Ah.
He had arrived in Nigeria after he was released from prison, I think in 1992 or thereabout. So they came to the University of Lagos and Abiola accompanied Mandela to the university. We chased Abiola out because we had always seen Abiola as part of Nigeria's problem. And you know, if you listen to ITT by fellow Nicola Kukut, International Thief, Abiola's name was written all over it. So I couldn't have been his disciple. What brought me and Abiola together was their own political misery. When one of his closest friends, Babangida, annulled an election that was adjudged free and fair. And we capitalized on that to force the military out of power, particularly Babangida. The picture you saw on that day was a stark opposite of what you have defined. In fact, I had just insulted all of them in his living room that they are thieves and that they are going to betray him. And he tried to give me money. I rejected it. That was what made Abiola follow me with Baba and Tony Nahoro, followed us just to escort us out of his compound. Because he said to me that he has never met anybody he gave money who rejected it. And see a young person here. So that was what led to. So I wasn't Abiola's disciple. Tinubu could have been Abiola's disciple, but not me. And what we were fighting for at that time was the revalidation of that election and ensuring that the military, who had shot itself in the leg or the foot, was driven out of power. If subsequently we'll go to meetings, even Tinubu that they're talking about, and I've said this, they have never been disputed, cannot speak when I'm speaking because we would come in, we have these streets, and they listened to us and respected us better. And because we're also strange bedfellows with them, we had been their enemy all this year, suddenly we have been found working together towards democracy and expanding the democratic space. We didn't have time to sit around with them. So in 1992, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that's current Nigeria president, was a senator in the National Assembly. That National Assembly was an assembly where Babangida, who was head of state as military, created a National Assembly of civilians. In those days, we were, and I'm repeating it here, we were more powerful, more respected. We carried more prestige than them because they were in the National Assembly where they could only make laws or did anything that Babangida approved of. We were in a student union government that was telling Babangida, your time is up. We were going to jail. They were drinking champagne. So how could we have been disciples of the same people? Our orientation at that time was more of socialist, freedom fighting, pro-democracy, very aggressive young people who didn't care who they were. We didn't even shake hands with them if we met them. We didn't attend their parties. We had no relationship whatsoever with them. We openly would deride them. We would go and stay on the road and force them to divert off the road when we were protesting. So we had nothing in common. In fact, that photo was the first day I met Abiola in person. Apart from the day we chased him out of England, but we didn't get that close. And that was the last time I saw him until he died. And then I was at his house to pretty much perform his funeral. Because we stood there and ensured that the federal government did not come to the funeral. Even though it was a military government.
Right. So your statements come across as very bold and very courageous. And it seems like that has transmitted from then till now. So the young people would say your proverbial foot is on the necks of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. What's the end goal for you?
So I don't belong in those who press neck, you know, as it is normally said, because pressing of neck is something you do on and off. It's a joke. You know, we are stepping on the gas pedal to drive this country towards a revolution. That is our goal, to fully liberate the country and allow it to achieve its full potential. That's our goal. The people who are pressing neck are the people who are creating content, or people who are dragging people like Tiger Generator. I'm not in the Tiger Generator business. So it's just to be very clear that we are diametrically opposed to anybody who is president of Nigeria who has come to expand the misery index in the country. And it started for me since 1989 pretty much, but prominently from 1992. So whereas I might have personal grudges against a particular individual, I am more interested in demolishing the evil empire that has created misery and poverty in this country and has been oppressive and debasing of our people. So whomever occupies that office is my enemy, as you know, at that point. Some few years ago, it was Buhari. Before him, it was Jonathan. Before Jonathan, it was Yaradua. Before Yaradua, it was Obasanjo, because we're the ones who fought against Totam. Before Obasanjo, it was Abdul Salami. Before Abdul Salami, it was Abacha. Before Abacha, it was a man called Shonekon who spent 84 days in power.
Yes.
And before then, it was Babangida. So I've been through all these presidents, as you know. And it is not about the neck of we are stepping on the gas pedal to make sure that these guys do not continue to take us for granted and take us as slaves in our own country. That's the primary goal. But whomever is their representative at that time, of course, you may be right to say that we'll keep our heels on their jugular.
Okay. So away from that, I want to ask that you've been fighting this fight for so long.
Yes.
The new crop of Nigerian youths have tried to fight this, the same fight you're fighting, but it seems like tiredness sets in sometimes. So as sometimes people would describe online activism as not strong enough. They say it's wishy-washy, on today, off tomorrow. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, you have to understand that online activities that are aimed and designed to end online cannot have the same impact as online activities that are meant to promote offline revolutionary fervor. And everybody whose only goal is to stay online is not ready. Because at some point you have to put boots on the ground. You have to you have to drop all your social media, encumbrances,
yes,
and go offline and fight. And sometimes it has to be a combination of both. But I'm not the one who will sit down here and dismiss that online activities don't have impact. They do. Some of it is psychological, that even a trending topic forces the government to rethink policies. All right? Just one 40-character tweet, garnering just a lot of attention, gets the attention of. But the question you want to ask yourself is, do you just want to get their attention so that they can, be at peace with themselves and you, or do you want to get them off your back? That's where you need to promote it just beyond online. And what kind of online materials are you putting out there? Are you just doing it for the sake of, yourself, aggrandizement? Are you trying to attract attention, clout chasing? Are you doing it for content? Are you doing it for philosophy? Are you doing it for conviction? Those are issues that you must determine. So what you've seen in Nigeria, as you try to describe, is that sometimes I think there's so much focus on online because people are actually afraid of what might happen to them offline. But now, even when you do too much online, they will get you offline. So that is what the Cybercrime Act has been doing to people who know how to talk online. You talk yourself offline.
Going off of what you just said,
Yes.
You have this brazen nature against the established government. Are there no worries on your part of what the repercussions might be?
I'm not just brazen, as you describe it. I have faced the repercussions of my actions. Up to death, these guys have tried to kill me before, more than once. They've shot at me at close range before. I'm sure you've heard. They've killed family members of mine. I mean, a family member of my immediate younger brother was killed a few years ago. Circumstances are still unraveled. They've also tried me for all kinds of criminal offenses, including the ones that carries capital punishment, which is death penalty, treason. So I have faced all of this and I continue to face them. The point to make is that am I afraid of the consequences? No. I already prepared myself for that a long time ago. That this might end in a way beyond my control. But I'm not bothered because it's too late now.
Is that an economy you would encourage the Nigerian youth to pursue, seeing as a lot of the figures that led the NSAS protests have either left the country, do not really speak on political matters anymore, or some are just plain quiet?
Well, there's already an economy that young people in Nigeria have created for themselves. In fact, were it not for these young people, their creativity in the entertainment sector, in the sports sector, in the digital sector, we wouldn't have a country with any economic base as we speak now. So, but my advice to them is to take it a notch further and ensuring that they are not left behind in the next industrial revolution. You know what it is? Artificial intelligence. And I'm pretty sure that they're already mobilizing themselves in those directions, because very soon governments all over the world, and they have likely lost it. They will lose control over monetary policies. There will no longer be a central bank of Nigeria. There will be a global central clearing space for transactions, which is already happening in e-commerce. It's already happening with bitcoins and all these digital currencies that are in place. And you see that Nigerian leadership panicked and they pretty much banned those transactions. But that is where the world is headed. So if we don't get the physical revolution, there's going to be an industrial revolution that will happen that will make some of these revolutions we are planning to work. And one of it is that the moment we take away the central control of currencies from these very backward leaders, we will have that economic power that we can invest in political power, that we just pull the rug from beneath their feet. And I'm interested in that because, one of the things I did early in my activism in terms of transitioning just from street protests is, personal investment in digital news reporting. I started crowdsourcing news as far back as 19 years ago. And the moment we were able to get alternative news out there, the mainstream media, either controlled by the government or special interests, lost control on how information was revolutionized in Nigeria. Of course, now almost everybody is a newspaper vendor. And that has helped us to regain some control from our democratic space. Because now you can say things that even when newspapers don't come to your press conference, they hold what we hear, as long as you're making sense. Even when you're not making sense. Because I've seen a lot of that in the content that are created around here. So, and you mentioned that some young people had to leave the country because of NSAS. I started NSAS. And I started in Abuja, Runtown did in Lagos with FAS. I was the one who actually got Femi Falana to call FAS to be part of that. I got a number of the young people that participated. You see, that is their first experience. They were haunted, and you have to build yourself like a battle tank And like I said earlier, be ready to throw yourself right on the battle line for you to be able to overcome some fear that drive people into exile. But I understand what they are going through. People like DJ Switch, I wouldn't have been surprised if she was in this country, if somebody ran over her, with a hit and run car. It was that bad. Those of us who knew how bad they felt about NSAS, because NSAS wasn't so bad until it targeted two things. It targeted power. It was getting to a point where it was going to be a forceful transfer of power from the old guards to very revolutionary, digitally minded, young people. Unfortunately, there was no experience, and also there was not enough radicalism. The second part was that it targeted the economic power of the guys who were running Lagos, of which the toll gate was one of them. And that was the point at which they panicked. And they still haven't forgiven NSAS people till today, because it exposed the underbelly of people you thought were powerful. Suddenly, they were running away from the country. Some of them had to take a bike or a boat to get to Benin Republic, waiting to see what's going to happen next. It was a very painful thing for me about NSAS, was that it was a lost opportunity.
Also,
because at some point, opportunism crept into the movement, the struggle. People started thinking about how big they want to become. When the battle has not been won, they started having relationships and conversation. And then money was also a factor, because the moment cryptocurrency was flowing in, people were thinking about how to live big and large, and forgot that the people who were on the street who actually fought this battle needed to be protected, and they abandoned most of them even after. We see how people were pulled out of prison as of last year. Who were taken to prison by Lagos State government. Till today, the biggest secret about NSAS is the number of people that died and who killed them. We still haven't gotten there yet. But had that revolutionary transition taken place, all of them would have been found out, including who gave the order, how many people were shot, where they are buried, the ones that were thrown into the Atlantic, the people who were smothered or decapitated, and, all of them would have been found by now. And there would have been, in addition to liberation, what we call transitional justice, which is that people of the old who carry out these things would have been taught a lesson. That would act as a deterrent to others who will be managing the new order and those who want to perpetuate the old order.
Do you think another opportunity would come around soon for the youth to take back?
I say it now. I think I've been saying this since Tinubu came to power, that he's a blessing in disguise. I just feel that he's imbued with some level of arrogance, that is also very ignorantly powered, that he will push this country's populace to have a revolution, no matter how reluctant they are. And I see that every day. With what they did in River State. What caused revolution is not usually that highfalutin purpose that we revolutionaries preach. The most revolutions that has happened when the last poor man got awakened to the fact that there's no tomorrow. That's why the French Revolution was about scarcity of bread. And we're getting there. The one in Algeria, was it Tunisia, was a guy who has bought his last goods to sell. And the task force came and took it. And he came back, poured petrol on himself, and self-immolated, and the whole country caught fire from there. You saw how a youth copper last week got the whole country talking. That's how it happens. something we didn't expect will trigger it. So I think it's just for people to be awake through this period so that you won't be caught napping. Yes.
So recently, the president declared a state of emergency, suspended the state's leadership. Do you think this is an attempt to restore control to the state or federal capture?
No, so there's no federal capture and there's no restoration of control. This is state capture. State capture is carried out by elements within a country who are within a cabal, who feel like, they've pushed their luck and their luck has been working so far, and they get to a point where they are comfortable in their own impunity. And they look at it and say, we can pretty much do anything we want. And that's why I say sometimes that's how the revolution happens, because they'll be comfortable in one section of town. They will even be the one who are telling you that these people can never have a revolution. We know them. They are too complacent. They are afraid, they are cowards. And then something will spark it. I think what happened in River State is an attempt, not an attempt, but it's a brazen position taken by this cabal led by Tinubu at this time to say, we no longer give a fuck. Pardon my French, English. And we're going to hand over this state to our friend who is going to help us win an election in the future, which now I'm referring to Nyesom Wike.
Okay, so
yes. And if you look at Wike's history, he has participated in a lot of atrocities to the point that he must be surprised why he's so lucky to have gotten away for so long. And the same thing applies to their principal, Tinubu.
Okay, so this was going to be my next question. That do you think that Wike is acting independently or is in cahoots with?
Or is in cahoots with his principal. This is about them deciding that, look, there's no corner that should be left, there's no stone that should be left unturned in our impunity. That's them deciding. You're looking at states. They're going to do it in Osun State if they get away with rivers. They'll do it wherever they have any little pocket of resistance from their own class. This is internal class warfare, by the way. It has nothing to do with the people. So don't get me wrong. I'm not taking side between Fubara and Wike. Inside of me, I hope they destroy themselves. Yes, because one has enabled the other in carrying out their own impunity and corruption. They're friends. But in terms of common sense, it behooves on us to make sure that wherever this happens, we count it as part of the stones that the builders have rejected that will make the next mansion of resistance possible.
So you agree that this, or you're of the opinion that this sets a dangerous precedent that if left unchecked would ravage the entire country?
It's going to, but for me, that's not my problem. The problem is how the people react, and they react swiftly in a way that they protect themselves and liberate themselves from the continuation of this impunity. That's my concern. It's not who is the next victim on their side. I don't care about them because they don't care about us either. Yes.
Okay. Presidency 2027. Are you going to run?
Does this country look like some country that will be in this shape between now and 2027?
If it's in shape, would you run?
No, see, my own position, and I'll say it, you can accuse me of not answering your question directly, is that I never stopped running. So if 2027 comes, I will be running. But I will run so fast now so that we can get to our destination before 2027. Does that sound like confusing? Maybe. But it's my own truth that I'm telling you. That if Nigeria continues to wobble along like this and we get 2027, which is likely, this impunity that you're saying and that they are building is to also ensure that they wear out your shock absorbers. So that when they allocate votes and assign another president to you in 2027, you won't be shocked. and then you'll be looking for me for the continuation of this interview. Yes, I don't want to be one of the people you use as guinea pigs for saying, "Oh, how was the election? Oh, you lost again." I don't want to lose again. I want to win and win big before 2027. And someday you will understand what I'm saying now.
Okay, so there's been coalition talks since the turn of the year.
Yes.
What's your mindset on partnering with these people to form maybe a greater opposition force against the current administration?
The funniest thing is that the people who are involving themselves in those coalition talks are not forming an opposition to the system. They are creating a semblance of opposition so that no matter what the situation is, the people might be made to feel that they are safe in their hands or in their coalition conversation. But it is to preserve the old order. As such, I'm not engaging and I'm not involved and I'm not partnering with any of the coalition people. Do you know why? These guys are very good at forming fake coalitions so that you think they are real opposition. At the end of the day, the people who form this coalition will form another coalition. The coalition that we need is a coalition of the oppressed. And they will never participate in those coalitions because it would affect their business interests and their political standing in society. They know that if the oppressed are coalesced in one group, they will never accept El-Rufai in that group. It will be counterintuitive to accept a guy who was killing Southern Kaduna people, killing Shiites and burying them in shallow graves, or to accept an Atiku in that coalition who has been vice president, or to accept any of these former governors who have failed spectacularly, including Peter Obi, in any of these coalitions. But the coalition that can accept them are the coalitions that will perpetuate hunger, starvation, poverty, and economic deception that debase the Nigerian people. So they know that. So they will form coalitions around themselves so that even when they lose, the next human resource person will go to that coalition to recruit the new coalition. So it's about self-preservation for them. You know, they can't, being in power is like oxygen for them. That's why El-Rufai will say to you, I have been in power since 1998 when Absalami took over. And we're approaching 2028. He's still in power and still hunting for power. He has gotten power for himself. He's been governor for 8 years. His son is in the National Assembly. Tinubu's daughter is the Yaloja General of Nigeria. The son-in-law is a member of the National Assembly. I don't know whether he's still there in the House of Rep. The wife has been senator. He's been president. It's not about you. It's about their own hegemonies and how to perpetuate it. And they don't really have fundamental disagreements. All right? They don't. There's nothing tomorrow that can stop El-Rufai going back to APC and say, hey, we told you they're bad, but finally we found Tinubu's certificates and they showed it to me. That's why I'm back to APC. Remember I told you that he was selling drugs. We find out that it wasn't cocaine, it was Panadol, and it's not a bad hard drug. They have explanation for their flip-flopping ways. So it's just like a person who you trust to be an attacker who has gotten to the goal, who then dribbles back and passes back to the defender when you have a minute to go. And then they blow the whistle and they're like, hey, that was a game. It's been rigged against you. In football, don't they call it fixing matches? So all these things you are saying is all match fixing. Yeah.
Peter Obi.
Yes.
Does it irk you that the youth has seemingly picked him as the messiah ahead of revolution, which is, for lack of a better word, what you stand for?
So I understand at this point that you guys like to inject Peter Obi into every conversation, But I will answer you adequately and correctly, to the best of my knowledge. No youth picked any politician. It is your narrative that you want to use to promote your candidate. And quite a number of some people are doing that, but it's not true. The reason being that somebody can also come and say that Buhari was chosen by youth because he was getting 12 million votes in every election cycle 3 different times before he became president in 2015. No youth picked them. It's the political class that choose their candidate, and then they have people in the media class. Now we have a different set of class known as social media influencers, who content creators, who then have become a new power block, and they will spin the narrative all the time that somebody was chosen by youth. Reason I'm saying this to you is that how many young people do you know exist in Nigeria? They are, according to general statistics, almost half of the 200 million population we have. In fact, it's said that 75% of Nigeria's population is youthful, below the age of 35 and below. If they chose a person as a messiah, we will not be here debating whether the person is still a messiah or not. So 6 million votes is not a representation of the population of Nigerians or Nigerian youth. No. And a vote that is also highly contestable or contested by even the person you claim as a messiah shows to you that the credibility of this assertion is highly suspect. But I know the spin that comes with it, Because one thing I've realized about the people who work with or still believe in that agenda is that they can't do without inserting it into any conversation. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the strategy to make sure that he doesn't fade away, because everything I predicted about Peter Obi has come to pass. That he went to Labour Party, which is an Airbnb, short renter, and that they would drive him out when they are done with the business. And that he didn't perform when he was governor for 8 years. But he was packaged as somebody. Now nobody can show you any evidence anymore. It used to be a package. You see, I would say this, that it's very interesting. The biggest enemy Peter Obi had and will continue to have is Buhari. Buhari was a successful scammer. Very well packaged. As a honest man, he doesn't like money. After he got away with that scam, it will be difficult to package another scammer in this country and get away with it. So now more eyes are open, people are asking questions, You don't have AI, I believe, who can adequately even do, whether rightly or wrongly, give you in 30 seconds what you needed to have found out in 3 years. So, and those are going to be hurdles that will be very difficult to cross when you are packaging something that is not real.
To bring this home, there's the issue of young Miss Ray, the national youth corper who broke down in tears, the viral video describing how hard her life had become, going to the supermarket, coming back home, things are very expensive, talking about Lagos and the smells. And then the next thing we heard was that she was being threatened by the LGI. And then you came in, you followed her to the secretariat. I think there was a report that said the LGI fled. Do you reckon that situation, her position, is enough to spark a change that is needed? Because now there's a 30-day rant going on. Nigerians are ranting about how hard life has become. There's also another hashtag, Tinubu is a terrible president. Do you think this is what we need to give that final push that last year's Revolution Now protest was supposed to give?
Of course. When revolutions are about to happen, a series of events will happen, of which the one that might spark it or make it happen might be the least expected. All right. And the people who understood how intense what she did is, not taking it for granted, that she could have sparked a revolution. Whatever that lady did has changed and shifted a lot of thinking in the country. And I am not very sure, because I am not a prophet, that this will be, I can't tell you that this is the final push, but this is one of the pushes that shows to you that people are getting ready and that anything can happen. When I got in touch with her, I had no idea that she would even allow me to accompany her, because I thought she would be afraid. But I was shocked at how determined she was. Because this is a youth corper. She's never been an activist before. She was just a youth corper who was creating content on TikTok and other social media platforms. And then she got this reaction. It wasn't about her. It was that at the right time, right place, she struck a very powerful nerve in society. And everybody just saw her as their spokesperson. What we did in going to her to protect her is what the civil rights people would do in those days when in the US, blacks were not allowed into classrooms where white people are supposed to learn. And when there's a judgment, somebody will follow the children to school, black children, and stay there until they complete their studies. What she did, I cannot say is that serious. It's like what Rosa Parks did in saying, listen, I'm not going to leave the front of the bus. We have to end it here. And that sparked a movement that was even beyond her. So most people don't know. We just hear about Rosa Parks. It wasn't Martin Luther King that started boys boycott. It was Rosa Parks. But what got Martin Luther King involved was not that he went there to go and fight with them. He was a pastor sent to a Baptist church that just arrived. And there was this small struggle going on about boys boycott. And he provided the church premises
As venue.
And then, before you knew it, he was propelled to the front of it. That's why I'm humble all the time. That I might be talking about a revolution. I may not be the one who will carry it out. But I would do anything and everything I can to help anybody who is helping us in that direction of liberation. Whether they are doing it, knowingly or inadvertently. I think she did this inadvertently. Yeah, but you could tell that her impact is so profound that they still haven't even left her alone. You see, right now they are shaming her, and you see people that they thought should know better, putting a picture of her, that she took as a youth, showing, creatively posing for photographs that everybody does. You are using that to say, oh, look at the person who is complaining about hunger. Like, if you are good looking, you can't be hungry. So, but that speaks to the impact that she had in these last few days. And that's why we went and supported her. And I'm glad that we did that. Yes, we have not heard from the LGI since that time. She absconded and they have not bothered her so far. But that is not to say that we should keep our eyes off, her side. But because a lot of things are going to be happening pretty fast. Like you said, there's now a 30-day rant. And then the state declaration of emergency in Rivers is going to just embolden more people. I saw a woman online who is even saying that they don't even want men anymore to lead the struggle, that we should leave it for women. And I support her. The reason is that women can do a better job at fighting for liberation than men sometimes, especially lazy men. We have too many of them around here. The second aspect of it is scientific. Women are living longer than men in this country. If you ask your friends, where's your mom? She's not around. Your dad died a long time ago because women are living longer. So it's their word. So they better just fix it. But I would support any movement in this country that are led by women, men, or even binary people, as long as it takes us to our destination of freedom and liberation. This is just not this kind of country we should be in.
Are you feminist? Are you a feminist?
I am anything that's good, anything that gives people their rights of existence. I support it, But do I add label to everything I do? I don't, because they have too many labels. Yes.
Okay. On young Miss Ray, she's apologized for certain statements.
She didn't apologize
about Lagos State.
She didn't apologize. I think you must read the nuances in her statement. I saw it.
Okay.
I was worried myself when I heard her shut up. I read it. She didn't apologize. She was just speaking to those who must have innocently misread or that had been. She's trying to get people repurposed and refocused on her message because she knew that they have diluted the message. You now have people say, oh, you said our ancestral land is smelling. So she said, no, don't worry. I didn't intend to desecrate your birthplace, but the place is smelly. Can we go back to smelling Lagos? She didn't apologize. Except she has done another one. And I know that she's been under immense pressure. So I don't know what might happen tomorrow, but as of today, she has not apologized.
Okay. So I know you jet set a lot. You're in Abuja, you're in Lagos, you're outside the country. Does Lagos smell?
It does, yes.
So you agree with her?
Oh, yes. Lagos is so smelly. They have to deodorize parts of Lagos. It's like the government of Lagos is pretty much carrying deodorant. Okay. Yes, Lekki doesn't smell. Come and stay there, But also the smelling, we're working on it. Alagbado has a terrible smell. Any city, or space in the world that is not taken care of, as should be taken care of, where sanitation is the last rule as opposed to being the first rule, the place will smell. Anywhere that is abandoned, misgoverned, mismanaged, will smell. There are parts of New York that smell. Yes. I've lived in New York for 25 years. 20 years plus. There are parts of the UK, London, that smells. Anywhere that is abandoned will smell. But anywhere that is negligently, abandoned would be the smelling capital of the world. And I think the only place that is competing with Lagos, I've never been to the place before. I heard Calcutta in India, Bombay, they have something in common in terms of the DNA of smell with Lagos. So, but the one I know that I can say any day, anywhere, that is not in the hands of good sanitation people is Lagos. That's just the truth. Anywhere you don't have toilets in many places, you don't have drainages that takes care of things, you don't have sewage systems. All I'm telling you now is town planning. Any town, city that is not planned, we smell. And Lagos is the town planning nightmare of in geography.
Okay.
Yes.
As we wind down, you've been fighting this fight for a long time.
Yeah.
Are there times when you're tired and you just want to maybe go back to New York and say, you know what, I've done my best and this is where I leave it?
No, there's no time I'm tired. But I think people get tired of me, to see that, this guy is just consistently fighting. There are times people just want to forget about Nigeria and they hate that I'm reminding them. So I think people get tired of me because of that. There are a lot of people just want to move on. Yeah, they just want to go clubbing, even if this place is smelling, they just cover their nose, and then come back the next day. And then they see that she already has posted again. Like, what's wrong with this guy, man? Just let us be, No matter how, let whatever happen, So I think people get tired of me. But then the people get tired of me will still come back and meet me where I've been trying to fix things. Because I've met people who have even abused me publicly, who, when they get in trouble,
They call
try to find me, including politicians.
Wow.
Yes. Some of them, when they lose elections that they rig, well, when the bigger riggers rig against them, the first person they look for is,
Sure.
all right, please, sure, can I explain to you? I won this election. You know, there are some of them that are thieves. You know, they are going to do a deal and the thing fell apart and they were cheated. They'll confess to, yes, we tried to steal money, but he stole everything. You know, and they still want you to side with them. Like, yeah, why don't you just help me recover the money? You know, the one that's my own. So it's the nature of injustice. It will go around. It might be slow sometimes. You know, when I started complaining about SARS, do you know when I started complaining about SARS? Since 1993.
Wow.
I was detained at SARS at the Keja in 1998 when I went to protest at Noga Games. And it kept us in, I don't know if the cell is still there, it kept us in the cell. We were the only people in that cell that have not been shot at close range. You know, when those days when they arrest you, they take you to a place, they shoot your leg.
Wow.
That's how to show that you have been arrested by SARS at close range. And then these injuries are at different levels of decay. And then they packed us like Shandin in what they call Fokalaja. So that's how we sleep. When we want to wake up, nobody can wake up and come back. You lose your place. So you rather just hold everything together until the next morning. If you wake up to go and use the bathroom, there's nowhere, you have to stand up for the rest of the night. So I've been through these things before. But that was 98. People didn't realize that there was a SARS until 2020. I get my point. So a lot of people who just gloss over this, who are complacent, and sometimes even complicit in these atrocities, it gets to them, and then they come and tell you, wow, how have you done it so far? I just tried to do it for 2 weeks and I'm already scared, I'm tired, and I'm on the run. So many police officers that used to beat us up, I've seen them retired, just suffering. They'll come to me and say, please help us talk about our pension. But we're saying that when we were saying that they shouldn't steal money in 1990, the same when you are the DPO of this police station, you are the one who will come and beat, you know, police in this town, they beat the hell out of me, man. Police beat me. I know all the areas in Lagos at the point, from area A to area G. You know, this area F here is referred to area finish. You know, they had a cell that they called German cell. You can't stand up and you can't sleep all night. I don't know if you still have it. I've been to all these cells in Lagos. You know, I've been detained in military barracks before in Yola when I went to do my NYC. I've been detained by the DSS in a place they call Inter Center. You guys have never heard about it. There's a detention center for high profile, dangerous criminals at the back of the immigration in Ikoyi. It's called Inter Center. I was the youngest person to be detained there in 1992-93 when I was arrested from the university. It is inside, it's between the Ikoyi cemetery and all those immigration police. You can never know that there's a detention. In fact, the person who is at the entrance of the detention is a DSS person who set up a mechanic workshop, fake mechanic workshop. So you think that they are repairing something there. It's when you want to enter that they will now open the gate, you discover that it's a different world. So what haven't I gone through in this world? So that's the reason why when I tell people, yes, because some people like mock you and all that. It's not about mockery. You're not mocking me. You are mocking your own existence. Because all I'm saying is that you deserve better. But sometimes they'll reduce it to, oh, you want to be president. Go and start from local government. Why would I be starting from local government when Nigeria's biggest problem, and when I was in my 20s, was the national problem I undertook it as a student activist. I've never fought for a local government before. I've fought for an international or national order that gives everybody their fundamental rights, existence, and integrity and dignity. That's all I've done. So it's not about politics. to a large extent. In fact, the worst thing I've ever done in my life is partisan politics. Because then you have to be explaining to people that you are good in front of like bad people. You know, they will see bad people. They will say, the people who vote for bad people will ask you to explain from morning to night what you want to do. You know, when they meet the bad people, they will never ask them a question. What is this? Hey, tell us how you're going to do electricity. How are you going to do water? Hey, can you tell me how pipeline will be running in my parlor? But the guy who they are going to collect 2,000 naira from, they will never see in 4 years. They don't ask them questions even when they show up. They are too afraid to ask questions. And some of them, you dare not ask them any foolish question anyway. They'll come and beat you up just for asking questions. So, yes.
Okay. Speaking to you now, there's a certain twang to your speech that is reminiscent of Fela Nicola Kuti.
Yes.
So, did he inform some of the views you have?
Oh, yes. When I was in New York, one day I got an invitation from a friend of mine. His name is Ogugwa Ewelu. I used to be a Fela protege. They were looking for someone to act as Fela in a show that's known as Fela on Broadway. And they invited me to audition for it. You know, when it was done, I didn't get the part. Even the band was also auditioning. He didn't get it. So I don't feel bad. If the band didn't get it, that's fine. But one of the things the guy said to me, one of the guys who auditioned me, he said, "Are you Fela's son?" And I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "You talk like him. And the back of your head looks like his back of his head." So I checked with my mom if she ever met Fela. I said, "No." So wow, that's cleared. The son of my dad, there's no question about it.
I don't think your dad would have liked that very much.
But yes, I had Fela. So, you know, I was, you know, I grew up listening to Fela's music. In fact, when I was about 9 years old, it was around the time that Zombie was popular. And my father had a radio, a sound system that has cassettes. And then I don't know how they have one of it in the village. The entire village had Zombie because it was a crime to play Zombie in public stations, radio stations. They don't play it on, till today, maybe they've changed it. But the military banned Fela's music being played on public radio. So I was listening to, I went and borrowed this cassette and I was fascinated with it. I was like, wow, who is this guy? I was in the village then. Who is this guy? You know, and in our house, the only cassettes were, you know, the music they call Biripo and Kofotomoge and, you know, and then Christian music. And my father caught me listening to Fela. You know, it was like as if I killed somebody. Like, come, who put on Fela? I said, I'm the ones. He said, do you know that if they catch you singing, they will kill you? The military the army will kill you. I said, I didn't know very much about Fela at that time. And anything you knew about Fela was the negative thing that your father told you. You know, like if you are a radical child or you are stubborn as a child, say, oh, you want to grow up as Fela. If they want to flog you 5 strokes, it will become 10 because they don't want Fela. It so demonized him until I then got to university, found out, I used to come to the shrine. I even had a fight with him once.
Fela?
Yes. Not a big fight. We invited him to come and play for us at the University of Lagos when I was University of Lagos Student Union. And they collected money from us. And then in the evening, because he has to do sound check. So he told us, we went to him, we went to his house and did yabis and during the day, in the morning, because you have to put all the buses there for morning. And he said all the buses must contain 27 girls, his band members, his security. So we had like 3 buses. So he drove to go and do sound check. By the time he was doing sound check, the carpenter that we got, so we were supposed to get like an already made stage, but Sonny Ade, who we wanted to rent from, heard that it was Fela that wanted to use it, so they refused Whomever was, because for Sonade was in Bariga. So they were going to give it to us, but somehow we didn't see Sonny, but the person who were run, the moment they heard this fella that is going to use it, they didn't. So we had to go and start constructing the stage. By the time fella arrived around 6 p.m., stage has not been constructed. He just used his leg, push it, he said, so this is where you want me to come and do. You are still constructing stage. He was supposed to come and do sound check and come back. So fella said, he's not coming anymore. I said, Papa, you have to, the entire campus had, coming to campus in those days is the most revolutionary thing to do as a student, If you bring fella to your campus, you're like, God. So, when we started begging fella, so the students closed the gate. So he's not going anywhere. And fella did not care. He slept at the back, the last couch at the back of this coastal bus. And then he looked up at me because I was begging him he looked at me and said, when you people are tired, you go open gate too. And then they perform. He said, go and ask him from the president of France. I told them to do this thing. I want to do sound check. They say, no need. Say, how African man will come do sound check for France. Say, when I don't perform, they fire everybody. I said, fella, there's nobody to fire in this matter. Because you call him fella, that's how, so that was how he left. We ran to his house, surrounded the house, not to attack him, we're begging. At the point he came out, he asked the guy who brought us, he said, who bring them again? He said, guys, brought him and he gave him a big knock on the head, closed his door and said, if we like, make we burn the house, they perform. So we ran to Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, who was his brother, who was like our best friend in the movement in those days. And Beko now told us that, did we look at the contract? Because there was one woman who funded it. It was 40,000 naira, I think. He didn't take much money from us in 1992. He said, it says there that even if you fulfill all the obligations, Fela is not under any obligation to play. That was how the thing ended. That's my story with Fela.
Thank you very much.
So you now understand why probably there's a twang to...
I get the twang. Yeah. From 2020 to now, Jaguar movement has exploded. What are your thoughts about it? Does it help negate the movement of a new Nigeria?
Well, it doesn't in a way, but it does in another way. In history, young people almost migrate. I think migration is one of the most popular activity of living things. I'm not talking about human beings now. As we are speaking now, there might be whales that are migrating from Australia to come to the Gulf of Guinea just to come and show off or take warm weather. There are birds that are migrating, crickets. Migration is part of what happens to living things. So that people are migrating is not the necessary bad thing. You must understand that it is migration that is keeping Nigeria alive today. We have had this discussion for almost an hour now. We have not discussed the diaspora. The money that the diaspora sends back home is the reason the Nigerian economy has not completely collapsed. It's bigger than the national budget. We just send money transfers. And Nigerians send the most amount of money, not through money transfers, but physical cash that they give to somebody who is coming home. Please help me use it to build houses. That's what is keeping this country going. So migration is not a bad thing. But what is bad about migration is brain drain. That they are taking your best to go and help somebody else. That invariably contributes to the reason why pretty much any disease can kill you in Nigeria. Even if you walk into an hospital that looks nice, there are no doctors there. My cousin just died recently. I think he died in February.
Sorry about that.
He was taken to Lasuth here when he had stroke. And my father-in-law is a retired doctor. And at the point, they said they wanted to find out if they could do surgery on him. It's true life story. And take excessive fluid from his brain. So I put my father-in-law on the phone with the doctor. And my father-in-law asked a simple question. I may not get it wrong. He said, do you have a manometer? They said they don't have. I think that's what the manometer does is to measure the amount of fluid, exact amount of fluid that should be taken out. Say if you don't have that, why are you going to take out fluid? You are going to take part of his brain out, and even if he then recovers, he will not recover in certain areas that are as important. That was how they realized that they didn't need to do surgery. The other person who did that surgery that night died. Eventually, my cousin died, age 60, maybe 61. I'm just giving you that example to tell you what migration can do to you. Maybe if all those great doctors didn't live, there would be somebody experienced enough to insist that there's a manometer. And this is lawsuit too. This lawsuit here. This lawsuit here, I walked into the intensive care unit. The only thing they give you besides your clothes, they'll give you a slippers, this flip-flop. You even have to rent it, but they didn't rent it to me because it was me. I went to an emergency care unit for a friend of mine in New York. They have to wear for you, like, it's as if you're entering a chemical processing plant. They'll wear protective gear. They will, after that, they will take the gear out. They will sanitize you. They'll take you to a different room. They'll cover your nose. This one, go to last hotel. They'll just give you slippers. You can be wandering around there. It doesn't matter whether you even carry more, viruses or bacteria after you leave. Because somebody who is in intensive care unit, there's nothing. These places are nothing. This is supposed to be the center of excellence. And by the way, lawsuit smells terribly. The way it shouldn't.
Okay. Sorry, I have to laugh at that last statement.
Yes.
Okay. The AAC. We don't hear much about it. It's not as in the news as other political parties. Are you still part of the AAC?
We founded AAC in 2018, and I ran on that platform in 2019. AAC is one of the existing 18 political parties in Nigeria today. There used to be 79 political parties when I ran, about 80 when I ran in 2019. A lot of them were deregistered. AAC is still one of the few political parties in existence. So AAC does exist. But parties that have ideology, parties that are not involved in coalitions of the unwilling and masquerades, and parties that don't have money bags struggle with the kind of popularity you are looking for. But to say that AAC is not popular is not true. So it's still one of the political parties participating in local government elections. It's a revolutionary party. Yeah. This question you asked me was asked of Fela too. Is the MOP still popular? So because he created the movement of the people, which Sheung Kuti is now trying to register as well. And I don't know if these guys are going to register any new political party. But what I'm happy about is that the Take It Back movement, which is the body that formed the AAC, is working very hard to reach out to Nigerians. Not a coalition now, please. We want to reach out to Nigerians. We've been seeing uptake in registration online because we're a digital party. And we believe that if election will be the way of the revolution by the ballot, AAC will do it. If the revolution will happen by a foot, TIB will do it.
Okay.
Yes.
On a broader topic, we want to discuss Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan.
Yes.
She's been in the news. She's been suspended by the Senate after allegations against the Senate President, sexual harassment allegations. She's gone to the IPU to plead her case. The Senate has doubled down. She has also alleged that the DSS or other forces are on ground to arrest her once she gets back to Nigeria. What are your thoughts on this?
My thought is that someone like Akpabio should be in prison instead of being elected as a Senate president in any sane country. And there is nothing they said Akpabio did, knowing him because I used to be a journalist, so I covered him a bit, that he would not have done even worse. If somebody tells me that Akpabio did organ harvesting, I won't doubt it. He's one of the men in this country, like Wiki, who did crime, did, just like El-Rufai. They got away with it, and, they got on top of it. Now they're on top of it again. That is why what you see as impunity, they don't see. They're at that point where they don't give a damn about what you think about them. So what has happened to Natasha is, in my view, what is wrong with Nigeria. Male-dominated society, male who are irresponsible. There are two things that I've seen in English language to discuss morals. One is immorality, and one is amorality. These guys are amoral. And if you look at definition of amoral, it's somebody who is immoral but doesn't care. Somebody who is immoral is a person, you say, he's doing this thing. They are even shame. They have shame. Sometimes you can preach to them. But the amoral ones don't give. Whatever you say they did, and they did more. But they don't care about what people say or what people think about them. So that's where they are. That's top-notch impunity. And I wish that the country understood this well enough to understand how deep the rot is. Because one thing they have also been good at is that they've known how to sponsor distractions, so that when you are still struggling with one, they will bring another one. Now nobody's talking about Natasha very much anymore. We're talking about River State. Come next week now, they would have done another thing that will make River State crisis look like. In fact, by this morning, I was trying to see a Nigeria that is already comfortable with the state of emergency in Rivers. Because it's all organized, you find talking heads on TV who come and tell, yes, yes, they blew up some pipelines. But why would they blow up pipelines? The governor should have said that he's not the one who blew the pipeline. And then they're showing videos of the governor saying that, he will lead his people to. And to make it worse, which is why I don't like to associate with the political class. The governor is already saying this morning that everybody should calm down, peace should return and all that. Peace of what? Where there's no justice, it's peace of the graveyard. So that's the way I look at it. But I have said this also, which might sound controversial, I'll say it again. I have an issue with enablers of impunity as well. As much as I hate impunity, when someone is a victim of impunity and I feel like they have enabled it, there was a part of me that was just not comfortable with how Akpabio and Natasha, her husband, have been in some kind of cahoot in the past. Akpabio sleeping at the airport during her wedding shows, so if you have been enabling him, this is just a part of me. It's something I'm a little icky about in whole thing. Like, this guy's of the same club in some ways. But it is not in any way, when I give that as a caveat for someone who might cut this part and say, sure, stop, in any way, a reason why an Akpabio should ever be close to power. Like I said, it would have been great if he's in orange jumpers in some prison in Akwa Ibom answering for his past crimes. We wouldn't have had to deal with this now.
Okay.
But it's not alone in that, including the major principal too.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Sowore. We've been speaking to Mr. Omoyele Sowore. He's taking us through the 90s to the 2000s, prisons, activism, fella. After all has been said and done, I like to think you're proud of your achievements and everything you've been able to do as of now. So what's your parting message to the Nigerian youth fighting for their lives as we speak?
Well, my parting message is a little bit going to be harsh. You just mentioned achievement. There's nothing like achievement if you are fought and your socio-political conditions have not changed over time. But for the youth, is to recognize that what you call youth is not a perpetual position in life. That the world also don't revolve around you. In fact, the world revolves faster than it used to be. I want to see Nigerian youths understand that they don't have time and that they won't be youth forever. One of my jokes these days is, when they call themselves, they categorize themselves in generations, so we're generation X and Z. Now, you've run out of alphabets. And instead of recognizing that there's nothing after Z, they went back to A again. Now I'm hearing generation Alpha. So, and then there'll be general Beta. So please quit all the generation thing and, live like the real generation, the G's and the OGs.